coronavirus is still very much with us. Joining us to talk some about this is Professor Rosemary Aldu, Director of Research, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NIMR. She joins us via Zoom. Thank you for joining us on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
What is the latest effort of NIMR to the fight against the coronavirus?
Well, we've been very busy and doing so much. Like we have actually developed 2 diagnostic kits for COVID-19 in Nigeria. We're working on COVID vaccine development right now. And we have also been very busy with the sero-epidemiological survey of COVID-19 in Nigeria. We have just completed that of Sokoto State, and we are just moving on to Delta State as we speak. So we've been working around the clock.
So let's take some of the issues you mentioned one after the other. Let's start with the seroprevalence survey. We know what the findings in February told us about some of the states like Lagos. So you can tell us, what are the findings, preliminary findings, for example, in Sokoto State?
Well, the testing is still going on in Sokoto State, but just like in the survey that we conducted in Lagos State, we found that those with active infections are really quite few. And so the PCR testing isn't picking much, maybe because we're not doing much of the testing. Many people are not coming out for testing. But the seroprevalence survey measures antibodies, and it talks about exposure to infection. So how many of these people that we are testing have been exposed? We are seeing that a good number of people have been exposed. Yes, in Lagos State, we found about 23%, and meaning that about 23% of the population had been exposed. So transmission is still ongoing, okay? Most likely, most of the people are asymptomatic. It's not severe infection that will require admission. In Sokoto State, we haven't finished testing all the samples. We have just gone halfway, so we are still on that. And Delta State, we will be moving into Delta State in the next 1-2 weeks. The survey will be conducted there. So one thing that I can say is that in Nigeria, transmission is still going on. Transmission is still going on, and people are still at the risk of, with a 23% for Lagos State, for instance. I mean, for the first state that was conducted, it was between 8 and 24% or so prevalence. So looking at that, it means that many people are still at risk of infection. When we're talking about herd immunity, we're expecting that at least 70, if we have about 70% of the populace having antibodies, then we can say we have reached there, but we're still very far from there. We have only about a quarter or less, of our population that have acquired antibodies. That was after the first wave. Now, looking at the second wave, we are still testing because the Sokoto State survey is after the second wave, and the Delta also is still after the second wave. So we still should not shout hooray yet, because the symptoms, the infection is still spreading. It's just that the PCR isn't, the positivity rate is low, but it doesn't mean that there is no COVID infection. So I will still encourage people to still observe these non-pharmaceutical measures. Let's just still be patient until, and then go for vaccination once offered. So that's my recommendation to the populace. It's not over yet until it's over.
Just in a few seconds, before we let you go, the WHO is warning of a third wave. Do you think that it is inevitable, seeing as we are way behind in vaccinations? Just a few seconds.
Well, if a third wave is being reported already in some countries, there is a possibility of it coming here. Usually, in emerging infectious diseases, a threat in one country is a threat to all countries. Okay, so if we're hearing that there is an outbreak, the second wave, or a third wave in a country, we should just put our house in order and ensure that we don't we don't just fold our arms and get caught unprepared. We should keep our watch, be vigilant.
We always appreciate your time on the program. Thank you, Professor Rosemary Audu, Director of Research, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NIMR. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Pleasure.